How we getting on, folks? Um, what can we say about today? It was poor. I'll put my hands up and say it. We just didn't click it right there today. We got, I suppose, a few nice runs. I suppose the best run of all was definitely the Boss's Oscar my nap for Leopardstown. It was just very unlucky not to go on and win that particular race there today. But overall it was a very hot race altogether. But look at fair play to Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. They absolutely took Leopardstown by the scruff of the neck. Um, I can honestly say Limerick was very, very poor. Obviously, the only winner we had was the Noah Betts, the Eldon Edge, but I'm not going to start screaming and shouting about, I suppose, tipping up a 1-8 winner. But moving on into Leopardstown and Limerick, I'm going to sort of stay in around the same style as we did it yesterday. I really don't know what to make of racing tomorrow. It seems like it's going to be another funny old day. Um, Possibly one for each way backers, possibly a day just to avoid racing altogether. But yeah, there are some very big prices I have put in here that might cause a bit of an upset. We don't really know, but look at hopefully it'll turn out good. And sure, look at hopefully if we can get a few places and hopefully a winner or two, we'd be on the pig's back. I'm going to cover Leopardstown first tomorrow at the 12:05. I'm personally going for Ascan here at 8-1 each way for the Torrance family. Obviously owned by, I presume, the mother of Simon. I think it's Anne Torrance or Mary Torrance. It's one of the two anyway. Trained by Simon's father and ridden by Simon himself. So it's definitely very much a family affair. A generally consistent horse. Now, it does need to find a little bit more improvement, but I definitely think it should be well capable of doing that. Simon is obviously going to know the horse very well. He's going to know the horse inside out. He'll know exactly how to ride it. Generally, like I said, a fairly consistent mare for coming among the places and I suppose putting in a very good race, basically. I don't really know what to make of most of the field. It's a very trappy enough affair. I think the favourites running off around 5-1. So you're nearly better off going for each way if you're going for a horse in this particular race. But in all honesty, folks, I wouldn't be going mad whatsoever in this race. I just think, look at Ascan, the fact that Simon Torrance is in such great form this year, it might be worth considering that maybe the family want to get in among the winners enclosure as well as Simon as well. Moving on then to the 12:40, I am going to go with Fangio de Vassi at 10-1 each way for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. I'm really just going by the statistics of Henry de Bromhead's pint to pinters and getting pint to pint winners into the race and the national hunt racing scene, basically. He's red hot. It's as simple as that. All you have to do is look at the race, and there today he had a nice little winner there with, I think it was Absolute Tard. Absolute Tard is right. Um, yeah, with Darrow O'Keefe on board is an absolute exceptional ride. I'd personally say it's the ride of the day. It came from absolutely out of the clouds to pick up the win here. Now there today it was very impressive. But look at keeping on Fangio de Vassi. Look at it was a winner in the pint to pint. I'm not really sure how hot this point to point is, but I'd certainly be keeping an eye on the market now. If it starts getting a little bit punted in at 10-1, I'd certainly be considering getting on each way. Moving on then to the 1:15, I'm going to take another each way fancy here now with Mary Francis for Martin Hassett and Sean Flanagan on board. Look at we're just basically going to keep on the right side of things, and the fact that Mary Francis had a fairly bloodless victory in Clonmel last time out in heavy ground is certainly something to be seriously considering. I definitely think, look at, she's definitely overpriced. I personally don't really rate Statler. I think he's just a little bit frustrating for those that are following him and backing him every single time when he's punted into odds on favouritism. Never really turns up with the goods. He puts in a good race, but he just doesn't finish it off. He puts in about 85% effort, but he just doesn't get things clicking, basically. I think Mary Frances, the fact that she has a win under her belt is something serious. She does like heavy ground. I'm not necessarily sure whether she'll be best suited going around Leopardstown, but I'm going to hang me coat on this one now, and I'm going to say Mary Frances is a little bit overpriced at 14-1. Moving on then to the 150, one of the only odds-on favourites we're going to be tipping up here today. Monkfish here. I'm going to be putting him in a double myself. He's 1-2. I wouldn't be betting him singly, but he is the class act of the race. I don't think latest exhibition is good enough for him. I personally think that Monkfish is definitely an improving sort. He's a generally sound jumper, and he should be well capable of polishing this field off, to be quite honest with RDE. Moving on then to the 225. I'm going to take a little bit of a broader aspect on this one here now and go with Aspire Tower here at 9-2 for Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead. It's interesting now that Rob Core have bought this horse up. I'm not 100% sure who the owner was before, but normally you'd know the orange and white hoops. But no, it's in Rob Core's colours now tomorrow, so that's definitely interesting. Obviously, look at when you think of all the Rob Core recruits, say put into Henry de Bromhead's yard, they nearly all win first time out. You think back to the likes of Chris's Dream, won absolutely bloodless around Clonmel over hurdles before he went on to take on the Albert Bartlett. Jesus, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone else. But look at this Aspire Tower. He's generally a consistent enough sort. He's won around Leopardstown before. He's put in a very good effort in this particular meeting last year. Won absolutely bloodless by I think around 20 lengths. The only thing is, I think the hurdles were taken out of the race that day. If that's the case, this horse has a serious chance. It's beaten Abacadabra in Down Royal. Abacadabra went on then to beat San Ra. I don't really rate San Ra, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the only time we will see San Ra winning is around Cheltenham. I definitely wouldn't be backing him anti-post for any bet. But look at, people are saying that he's the best horse in the field. I'm yet to be fully convinced. I just think Aspire Tower here at 9-2 is absolutely printing money. If the market is there for an each way perspective, I definitely think it would be well worth considering. I certainly think that if there's any horse to challenge the likes of Abacadabra or San Ra, Aspire Tower is the one to be on. We know he likes the softer ground. We know he likes it around Leopardstown, and he should be a fairly hard horse to stop if getting too much of a lead. Moving on then to the 3 o'clock. I'm going to take a chance here now with presenting Megan at 16-1. We backed it there. I don't think it was today. No, it wasn't today. When it was unseated in Limerick after about 50 yards of the race. Oh Jesus, that was heartbreaking. Simply because it was sort of well supported going into that race, and it looked like Limerick was going to be a track that was going to suit it fairly well. And then to be brought down after about 50 or 100 yards, it was heartbreaking. I think 16-1 is overpriced. Probably Leopardstown doesn't suit it as well as Limerick, but I still think overall when you think of the upsets that have been punted in, as well as that Flooring Porter for the same yard as after winning there today in the big race there today over hurdles. So look, it's certainly well worth considering, and I definitely think 16-1 is a bit overpriced for my personal opinion. Finally then, the 335, the last leg of the double. Hollow Games should be winning this at 8-13. I don't think the Willie Mullins horse here is good enough, personally speaking. I just think Euro to Yep is a class below this Hollow Games, personally speaking. Look, it's hard to know. Is Hollow Games getting to the stage now where he's getting a little bit exposed, or Will he like a bit tackier ground tomorrow, which it probably will, looking out at the weather now tonight? Jesus, I don't know, but I still think he is the class horse to beat. I think 8-13 is a little bit generous, and I think a double with Monkfish there at 1-2, it pays out in or around even money or a little bit more. So look, at your doubling your money for 2 odds on favourites. I certainly wouldn't be throwing my nose up at that too much. Moving on then to the Limerick, a bit more open in my personal opinion. There are some fairly decent horses running, and hopefully we'll be able to get in the back of a few of them. First race off, the 11:55. I'm going to go with Blanket on the Ground here at 10-3. And for me, this was definitely one of the ones to be debating whether I was going to put in Patreon or not, but I've decided to leave it, and there's a better horse that's running at a better price later on today that I have put up in Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to join up. But yeah, Blanket on the Ground at 10-3 is absolutely printing money, I think. I certainly think, look at Kevin Bruder, Garroge's brother rode it to victory last time out in Limerick. It absolutely stayed on very, very well in heavy ground. It's definitely going to be meeting the same ground now tomorrow. It should be well suited by conditions, and I personally don't think there's a horse to beat it here. I think 10-3 is an absolute steal of a price, and it should be certainly one to be taken into the winter, coming into the softer ground and heavier ground. 12:30 then, I'm going to take a little bit of a chance here now. Fayan here for the Tyner yard at 10-1 certainly looks to be a bit interesting. Look at it was I think it won last time out, or it was second last time out over hurdles. It's moving into chasing company now. It does need to find a hell of a lot more improvement, but look, it's hard to write off Rob Tyner around this time of year. He generally keeps his best horses for, I suppose, softer ground. There's a family member that owns it as well. It might be his wife. I'm not 100% sure. I could be totally wrong. But Philip Enright, I think, rides it now tomorrow, which is generally the jockey they normally throw up on him, or throw up on this particular, say, ownership horses, basically. You normally see Philip Enright riding for, say, the Tyners, but yeah, Fayan just for me looks to be a little bit interesting here now, and it could be worth a little bit of a punt here around 10-1. It might just surprise a couple. Moving on then to the 105. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one here. Rock On Barney should be well capable of winning this particular race. I think 2-1 is very, very generous. I certainly think that overall he is definitely the best horse in the field. I don't think there's a horse that's going to stop him. I think Limerick is going to suit him down to the ground. He's going to be possibly held up around midfield, and then coming around the final bend, he should be tanking onto the heels of the leaders, and then just taking into the lead, maybe going over 2 or 3 from home. It's hard to know. Moving on into the 140. I'm going to take a chance here now, and I'm going to say Indiana Jones is massive here at 12-1, coming from Mouse Morris's yard. Obviously, they're starting to get into form as well. I think they're going off a 25% strike rate over the past 2 weeks. Obviously, Indiana Jones is a very bloodless winner in Cork last time out in similar ground conditions. So, look, I'm not going to look into his next run too much. I think he generally does need to have the ground plenty soft for him. I can't wait to see him going over chasing fences. But I certainly think that Limerick is going to be a course that's going to suit him now tomorrow, and he should be battling out the places at around 12-1. It's a great price. Moving on into the 215. Generally, well, look, it's my least confident pick of the day. It's a poor enough race. There's no point in trying to beat around the bush too much. I certainly think it's better to be avoiding the favourite here now than backing it. But I think up over that at 6-1 for Philip Neville and Gary Noonan is certainly one to be keeping an eye on. Fourth last time out, and it was a very good fourth at that. I think it was running at a price of in around 66-1. Now I could be wrong on that, but it still ploughed on for a very decent fourth. Some improvement in it to come. Potentially it might be well thrown in. And I certainly think that it's certainly not without a chance here, and a 6-1 is great value. The 250 then, I'm going to leave this race simply because that's my patron pick of the day. I am very confident in that, and it's certainly one to be definitely be very confident in. It was a very bloodless winner last time out. 325 then, I'm going to take a bit of a chance here now and go with the man in form, Darragh O'Keefe, for Oliver McKiernan. Glenawa Bridge here at 11-2 is definitely well worth considering for an each way perspective. Bet365 are offering a quarter of the odds for 4 places at 11-2. So look at you're still going to be getting a bit of profit for your each way money should it not win. But I'd be fairly confident that it's well thrown in here, and the fact that Oliver McKiernan's horses are certainly coming into form now, it's definitely well worth considering. You don't often see Darragh O'Keefe riding these horses, so like there today riding for Cheveley Park, I should have spotted that by a country mile, but I didn't. I decided to go with Tornado Flyer for some reason, but we're going to stick with Darragh O'Keefe now, and we're going to take a bit of a chance. Hopefully he'll be able to produce the goods again, and 11-2 is an absolute steal of a price. Before we go, we are 2 subscriptions off 300. That was my aim to get to by the end of the year. We're nearly there now. So if there's 2 people on here that haven't subscribed already, please do so. I was always aiming to get to maybe 300 subscribers by the end of the year. We're very nearly there now, and we're very near the end of the year as well. So look, it's a target met. Hopefully down the line we'll be able to grow a little bit more. I'm aiming for 500 by the end of February. That's probably going to be a little bit tricky, but look, we can always dream. I'll leave a link in the description below for the Patreon account. Just if you are signing up, you will be charged again for the 1st of February. Now, I'm not saying to sign up or not. It's your own choice at the end of the day. But look, we calculated up the profit loss. We were just slightly in profit there today, probably because the each way punt by Dean came in at second there at 7-1, as well as my non-runner returned it just, I think it came in at something like 1.5 pints profit. So I think overall this month we are trading in around 58.35 or something along the lines like that. We're not above 60, but we're not too far off it. That's absolutely massive for us. Huge thanks to Dean. I think Dean alone is going off a profit loss rate of something like plus 33, so that's serious going by him. But yeah, I'll leave a link in the description below. It's €10 a month. It's basically there to help fund the podcast and help keep it going, and hopefully down the line we'll be able to build it up into potentially our very own racing club. So that's certainly interesting and certainly one to be looking at down the line. If you're going to be having a bet tomorrow, the very best of luck. Sorry again about today. It just I'm literally lost for words there today. How we didn't manage to get a winner. Yeah, it was just one of those days. It was just nothing seemed to go right for us. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much. Please make sure to keep liking, sharing, subscribing. And if you are having a bet tomorrow, the very best of luck. Hopefully we'll be able to turn our form around for the last day of the Leopardstown Christmas Festival. Thanks very much, guys.